Hello, back again. Buongiorno a tutti. Today I would like to make a video regarding a quite important idle situation on every instrument, actually on violin and viola, not on cello and double bass. And in order to describe this better, I have to make first a small drawing of the instrument of the side, okay? So now I will try to give my best to show you how I can design without drawing an instrument without any further help. So now I'm trying to design here a violin from the side, and I'm taking here something like this, and I draw it in the very middle, a small line, and then we just say, very important part, the body of the instrument is probably about here from the side now, and this line is actually the line where the ribs are, and there's the top glued on, okay? So that means that this is now my end button here, okay? Then the lower bouts, the C and the upper part, okay? Then we make here somehow, have to do it like this. This here is something very nice. I will read it later on. So this is now the body, these are the ribs, okay? This is the C, this is the upper part, the lower. So this is the edge, okay? And this is the edge of the other side. Sorry, I don't have a ruler here. This is now the edge, okay? So it's underneath the edge, it's only the ribs, and this is the top, okay, on this side, and this the back. And now actually now the whole thing about it is certainly that if you have an instrument from the front side, we all agree that the neck has to be straight, right? This is something which is more than important, and it always what counts is the top, okay? Just remember the top is what counts, okay? Here the C, and this is the lower end, and this largest areas are actually determining where the center line will be, and then we have the neck straight to it and all the rest straight up. And the preciser it is, the better it is. But from the back side now, we want to focus on the side of this here. There is something which is very important, because last online streaming video, somebody was asking how should the fingerboards be and how high should it be to the arching. Now there's one thing, that the whole instrument itself became so popular and is so high quoted, not because it's so tiny and beautiful, but it could also have been the lute or the guitar or the piano, you know. If you look at those instruments, a piano, how much work is it to make a nice piano, you know? So why is it the violin which is so high appreciated? And it is all about the fact that it is the concept of the violin itself is just genius, and this is responsible that is after so many years it's still very good. For instance, a guitar, a great guitar, in order to maintain the quality of the guitar for many years, every time you finish playing you lose the strings. On a violin it's actually the opposite. The more that the strings are tight, the better it is, and if it's played, even better. And this is a very interesting fact, okay? You have on one side the heath of the ribs, which is, here we call it a certain measurement, okay? We call it A, this measurement, okay? And now, in order that the whole concept with all the forces and everything on a violin works out great, means that A is also the two archings together. So this one here, you can hear how my wife is having a meeting with her colleagues. And here, this and this together is like an A. So the arching, top plus back is A. Okay, so we call the arching here, we call it B and B, whatever, you know, it is, or B and C or whatever. And then, so we can design it certainly a little bit better and make a nice arching here and all this. And then you have here also the plate here of the, and here it goes down as well, you know, like this. Maybe it's a little bit too full. And then we can make also the arching of the top. And we make it a little bit fuller here. And then like this. And now the key point is that this bridge, which should stand somewhere here on, let's say in this area, a little bit like this, the height of this bridge, guess what measure it should be, is another one, A. And this is now where the string lies. And now we have another very interesting part, that the strings will lie exactly. And then we have here, this is, I forgot here to make my lower nut. And then here we have this one here going like this, okay? And the string goes from the bridge all the way down here, and where it is on this line, there is the end of the fingerboard, and here is our beginning of our strings, okay? And then you have here the scroll and all the rest. And in between here we have our neck, which has a certain measurement. Should be a little bit more straight and has a certain point. And here this one is like this. You can tell that I'm not good in designing, and then we still have to adjust whether now this dot should lie on this line, okay? And you can double check that by looking along this, aligning this corner, which is a little bit like this here, like this, okay? And then you can align this corner to this edge, and then you just look straight, and then you look along your instrument, and you can see if the neck is correct, the angle is correct. And then this is just one point, and then you can certainly go a little bit higher or lower. So the answer of this question of this fellow last day was, now if I just draw now the fingerboard, it should be somehow like this. This is the arching, and then we have here the edge of the fingerboard, and then there results something which is somehow like this, okay? And then this measurement is a something which depends a little bit on how high is the arching here and this point, but actually it doesn't count, because if I would have a low arching down here, very low immediately, it would be different than if I would have a German arching which goes up straight and it hangs a little bit down and goes up again, you know? So this measurement is not really reliable to measure if your neck angle is now correct or not. And this is something for musicians very important. And also this distance here, usually I measure it from the purfling up to the edge where the fingerboard is. It depends also on how high is the edge of the fingerboard, if it's old or new. Red. So we have here, this dot where the string starts has to be on the same dot leg then from here to here to here to here, okay? This is one line. Wow, this is a fancy red, huh? This is one line, and this line is on the same dot where the string starts, okay? And this is only if you have 1, 2, the arching and the arching together. The two arching is the same height than the ribs or the height of the bridge. If this and these two together are the same measurement, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and it is aligned on one surface, the top where it is glued on and the string where it starts, then you have the ideal neck angle, okay? This is only for violin and for viola. On the cello, it is definitely different because the ribs are much higher, and the reason that it is not like exactly like it is like this is that the cello has a completely different origin than the violin and the viola. Okay, even the double bass comes from a different instrument. They look the same, they gave the same design, but actually it's completely different history, and then at a certain point in the history they approach together. More or less the concept is similar, and because it is bigger and stronger, it somehow also keeps very long. Nowadays on the cello and on the double bass, people understood that in order to be able to make a strong sound, it is better to keep the neck more out of the body. So if it was before on a cello 18, 22, right now it is 24, 26 even, you know. And it is on a double bass, it was like 36 for many years, and now you can even make 40 and it's not a problem, you know, in order that to create this angle a little bit lower. But the clue, and this is actually the point of this video, is when it comes to the neck angle, I told already in other sessions, if this angle here is a little bit wider and a little bit lower, the whole bridge has more ability to vibrate freely. But on the other side, don't undervalue this fact that the bridge should be, in theory, as high as the ribs or as the two archings together. And if this is, then the whole forces of how it is pulling here, the forces, it's all going to come to zero, all the forces on the whole body. Here it is a point where the neck is, so this one is pulling into this, the whole arching here is pulling up, this one is going inside and is going out here, so the arching goes in, this arching goes down, it's all here, this presses on the neck inside here like this. So all these forces from this point of view are going to be zero, and this is the secret that the violin keeps for so long and can sound so equilibrated and nice and beautiful over all four strings if all this is maintained. Okay, now it doesn't give you a perfect answer, but it gives you the complexity or the frame of your, when you are asking your questions, because it's not so easy to answer a single question. How high should be the fingerboard to the arching? And to be honest, you cannot answer a perfect question like the Japanese 20 years ago when they came to Cremona. They were measuring from the fingerboard down there, and then they said it has to be, I don't know, let's say 19 or 20 or something like this, and they were, all those instruments had the neck too high. On the other side, they had a very high humidity, and all the necks were coming down, like it is happening in Singapore as well. It's a little bit more complicated, okay? So especially on a modern instrument, I would probably make it a little bit higher, but a little bit might be 0.5 millimeter, okay? Could be 1 millimeter, and then the strings here are lying on a round area, not on a straight surface, so you have to make a little bit of compromise between the G and the D string, or the A and the E string, okay? So it is all a little bit to consider, but if you have this picture in your mind, you certainly understand that this is a key point to get a beautiful sound. And on an instrument which is now old, or has been made by somebody, or has had a very difficult past with humidity and climate changes and bad treating, it could be that all this is slightly messed up. So every time you have an instrument, you have to start measuring and understand what is now the best thing you could do actually for your instrument in order to make it, to get the best out of that instrument. All this certainly that the neck is here perfectly centered between these, and everything is lined up perfectly, otherwise we're talking here about something which is useless. And to obtain that, there goes a lot of time into the whole matter. Okay, so I hope that even this video here was something interesting for you to understand that it is not so easy to respond to a question of how the neck should be inside. And see you next time. Bye bye.